The message came at 3 in the morning. Lieutenant Kim Tae-ho was sleeping in his small apartment in Seoul when his communicator started beeping. He opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling for a moment. Then he reached over and picked up the device. "Report to Central Command immediately," the message said. "Priority 1. Tae-ho sat up and rubbed his face. Priority 1 meant something big. He had been in the Korean Space Corps for 8 years, and he had only received 2 Priority 1 messages in his entire career. Both times, people had died. He put on his uniform and left his apartment. The streets of Seoul were quiet at this hour. Flying cars moved silently overhead, their lights blinking in the darkness. Tae-ho took the transit tube to Central Command, a massive building that touched the clouds. Inside, he was taken to a conference room on the top floor. 3 generals were waiting for him. Tae-ho saluted and stood at attention. "At ease, Lieutenant," said General Park, a woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Sit down." Tae-ho sat. He noticed that the generals looked worried. This was not a good sign. "3 years ago, we made first contact with the Valari Empire," General Park began. "You know this. Everyone knows this. What most people don't know is that the alliance negotiations are not going well." Tae-ho nodded slowly. The Valari were powerful. Their empire covered 12 star systems. Humanity needed them as allies because of the Krath Collective, an aggressive species that had been attacking human colonies for the past 2 years. "The Valari see us as inferior," another general said. "They think we are too emotional, too weak. Their culture values control and discipline above everything else. They suppress their feelings through mental training. They think love and attachment are dangerous." "What does this have to do with me, sir?" Tae-ho asked. General Park leaned forward. "Princess Yuna of the Valari Empire is coming to Earth. She will be here for 3 months to observe humanity and report back to her government. The Emperor wants her opinion before he agrees to any alliance." "The princess specifically requested a human liaison," the third general added. "Someone who would show her our world. Someone who represents the best of humanity." Tae-ho felt confused. "And you chose me?" "You were recommended by Admiral Choi," General Park said. "He says you are calm under pressure. You don't lose your temper. You think before you act. These qualities will be important. The princess is difficult." "Difficult how?" The generals exchanged looks. "She has had 4 liaisons in the past month. She rejected all of them within the first day. She called one of them stupid. She told another that he smelled bad. She made the third one cry." Tae-ho raised his eyebrows. "She sounds charming." "She is cold, arrogant, and she believes humans are beneath her," General Park said honestly. "But she is also the key to this alliance. If she tells the Emperor that humans are worthy partners, we will have the protection of the Valari fleet. If she tells him we are not worth his time, we will be alone against the Krath." Tae-ho understood. Millions of lives depended on making this princess happy. No pressure at all. "When does she arrive?" he asked. "Tomorrow." The Valari ship descended through the clouds like a silver blade. It was beautiful in a cold way, all sharp angles and glowing lights. Tae-ho stood on the landing platform with a delegation of diplomats and watched it come down. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his face calm. He had read everything he could find about the Valari in the past 24 hours. He knew they were humanoid, but taller than humans. Their skin had a faint glow like moonlight. They had violet eyes and 2 hearts instead of 1. They lived for 300 years. He also knew they rarely smiled, never touched strangers, and considered showing emotion in public to be shameful. The ship landed without a sound. A ramp extended and figures began to walk down. Valari guards came first, tall and serious in silver armor. Then came attendants in flowing robes, and then came the princess. Tae-ho had seen pictures. but pictures did not capture the reality. Princess Yuna was tall and slender, with skin that glowed soft blue in the morning light. Her hair was black and fell past her shoulders. Her eyes were the color of deep purple flowers, and they were completely cold. She wore a white dress that moved like water. A thin silver crown rested on her head. She looked like a statue made of ice and starlight. She walked toward the delegation, and everyone bowed. Tai-Ho bowed too. When he straightened up, she was looking directly at him. "You are my liaison," she said. It was not a question. "Yes, Your Highness, Lieutenant Kim Tai-Ho." She studied him the way someone might study an insect. "You are younger than the others." "I am 29, Your Highness." "A child," she said. "Humans live such short lives, like flowers that bloom and die in a single season." Tai-Ho kept his expression neutral. "Flowers can be quite memorable, Your Highness, even if they don't last long." Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe. She was not used to humans talking back. "We shall see," she said. "I hope you last longer than the others. It is tiresome to keep learning new names." She walked past him without another word. Tai-Ho turned and followed her. His job had begun. The first week was hard. Princess Yuna found fault with everything. The air on Earth was too thick. The food was too simple. The buildings were too short. The people were too loud. Tai-Ho listened to her complaints without argument. When she said something rude, he simply nodded and made notes. When she insulted human culture, he agreed that humans had much to learn. This seemed to confuse her. "Why do you not defend your people?" she asked him one evening. They were standing on a balcony at the diplomatic complex, looking out at the city lights. "Would it change your mind if I did?" Tai-Ho asked. She considered this. "No." "Then why waste the energy?" He shrugged. "You will think what you think. I am here to show you our world, not to argue with you." Yuna turned to look at him. For a moment, her cold mask slipped just a little. "You are strange for a human." "Thank you, Your Highness." It was not a compliment. "I know," Tai-Ho said. And for the first time, he smiled at her. She looked away quickly, but not before he saw something change in her expression. It was small, barely noticeable, but it was there. Curiosity, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of respect. 3 weeks passed. Tai-Ho took Princess Yuna across the world. They visited the great cities and the quiet villages. They saw mountains covered in snow and beaches with white sand. They attended formal dinners with presidents and walked through markets where old women sold fruit and fish. Yuna maintained her cold attitude in public. She stood straight and proud, her face like a mask of ice. She spoke politely, but without warmth. The diplomats who met her walked away thinking she was exactly what they expected, an alien princess who looked down on humanity. But Tai-Ho saw things they did not see. He noticed how she stopped in front of paintings in museums and stared at them for long minutes. He saw her close her eyes when street musicians played traditional instruments. He watched her touch the petals of flowers when she thought no one was looking, her fingers gentle and curious. One day they visited a school in Busan. The children were excited to meet a real alien princess. They showed her their drawings and sang songs for her. One small girl, maybe 6 years old, walked up to Yuna and offered her a paper flower she had made. "For you," the child said, smiling. Tai-Ho expected Yuna to refuse it or hand it to an attendant. Instead, she bent down and took the flower carefully. She looked at it for a long moment. "Thank you," she said softly. "It is beautiful." That night, Tai-Ho saw the paper flower on her desk. She had kept it. The Valari did not believe in love. Tai-Ho learned this slowly, through small comments Yuna made and through his own research. Valari children were raised in group homes, not by their parents. Marriages were political arrangements between powerful families. Emotional attachment was seen as a weakness that enemies could use against you. From the time they were young, Valari were taught to control their feelings through meditation and mental discipline. Princess Yuna had been betrothed to Prince Juan of House Sarath since she was born. She had met him only a few times. Their marriage would join two great families and increase the power of the empire. "Do you love him?" Taiho asked one day. They were eating lunch in a small restaurant, just the two of them, without guards or attendants for once. Yuna looked at him like he had asked if water was dry. "Love is not the purpose of marriage. Alliance is the purpose. Strength is the purpose. But do you even like him?" "I do not know him well enough to like or dislike him. It does not matter." Taiho shook his head. "That sounds lonely." "Loneliness is a human concept," Yuna said. "Valari are never lonely. We are complete within ourselves." But her voice was not quite convincing. Taiho did not push further. He was learning that the princess needed time to open up, like a flower that bloomed slowly. One evening, Taiho was in his quarters at the diplomatic complex. His communicator chimed, and his sister's face appeared on the screen. Somi was 23, with round cheeks and bright eyes. She was sitting in a hospital bed. "Hey, big brother," she said. Her voice was tired but cheerful. "Hey yourself," Taiho replied. "How are you feeling?" "Better. The new treatment is working. The doctors say I can go home next week." Taiho felt relief wash over him. Somi had been sick for 2 years with a rare blood disease. There had been times when he thought he might lose her. "That's great news," he said. "I'll come visit as soon as this assignment is over." "You better. I want to hear all about your alien princess. Is she as scary as they say?" Taiho laughed. "She's not scary. She's just different." "Different beautiful or different weird?" "Both," Taiho admitted. They talked for another 20 minutes. Taiho told jokes to make her laugh. He promised to bring her favorite food when he visited. He told her he loved her before he ended the call. He did not know that Yuna was standing in the doorway. She had come to ask him something about tomorrow's schedule, but when she heard voices, she stopped. She watched him talk to his sister. She saw the way his face changed when he spoke to her, the warmth in his eyes, the easy affection, the way he laughed without restraint. Valari did not behave this way with family. They were polite and formal with everyone, even those who shared their blood. Watching Taiho express love so openly was like watching something from another world. It confused her. It frightened her. It fascinated her. When the call ended, she stepped forward. Taiho looked up, surprised. "Your Highness, I didn't see you there." "Your sister," Yuna said. "She is ill?" "She's getting better." Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she asked something that surprised them both. "Does it not frighten you? Loving something you could lose?" Taiho thought about the question. He remembered nights in the hospital waiting room. He remembered the fear that sat in his chest like a stone. He remembered holding Somi's hand and praying to every god he knew. "Yes," he said honestly, "it frightens me very much." "Then why do you allow yourself to feel it?" Taiho looked at her. The princess stood very still, her face calm as always. But there was something in her eyes, a hunger for understanding, a crack in the mask. "Because the alternative is worse," he said. "I could protect myself by never loving anyone. I would never feel pain, but I would never feel joy either. I would be safe, but I would be empty." He paused. "It would frighten me more to never love at all." Yuna stared at him. For a long moment, she did not speak. Then she turned and walked away without a word, but Taiho saw her hand tremble slightly as she opened the door. He saw her pause for just a second before she left. Something had changed. After that night, Yuna began asking questions. Small questions at first. What did humans do for fun? Why did they keep pets? Why did they write poems and songs about their feelings instead of keeping them private? Taiho answered patiently. He did not make fun of her questions, even when they seemed obvious. He understood that she was trying to learn something she had never been taught. One night, they walked through a park in Seoul. Cherry blossoms were falling like pink snow. Families were having picnics on the grass. Couples walked hand in hand. Yuna watched a young man and woman sitting under a tree. The woman leaned her head on the man's shoulder. He put his arm around her. They were not speaking, just sitting together peacefully. "They look happy," Yuna said quietly. "They probably are," Taiho agreed. On Valari Prime, public displays of affection are forbidden. They are considered inappropriate, weak. Here they are considered normal, human. Yuna watched the couple for another moment. Then she said, very softly, "I think I understand why humans do this." "Why?" She did not answer, but when she looked at him, her eyes were not cold anymore. They were curious and confused and something else, something that looked like longing. Taiho felt his heart beat faster. He told himself to be careful. She was an alien princess. He was a military officer. There were 1,000 reasons why this was dangerous. But he could not stop looking at her. And he could not stop wishing that she would look at him like that again. The gala was held on Horizon, a massive space station that orbited Earth. It was the largest diplomatic event in human history. Representatives from 20 nations came to celebrate the coming alliance between humanity and the Valari Empire. The station was decorated with lights and flowers. Music played softly. People in formal clothes walked through grand halls with glasses in their hands. Princess Yuna arrived wearing a dress of deep blue that shimmered like stars. Her silver crown caught the light as she moved. Everyone turned to look at her. She was the most important guest, the symbol of hope for both species. Taiho walked beside her in his dress uniform. He had cleaned his medals until they shone, but he was not thinking about the party. He was thinking about security. Something felt wrong. He could not explain it. Everything looked normal. The guests were smiling, the guards were at their posts, the scanners showed no threats. But Taiho had learned to trust his instincts over 8 years of military service. His instincts were telling him to be careful. "You look tense," Yuna said quietly as they entered the main hall. "Just being cautious, Your Highness." She looked at him. "You think something is wrong?" "I don't know. Maybe?" Yuna nodded slightly. She trusted his judgment now. That was new. They moved through the crowd, greeting ambassadors and officials. Yuna was polite and formal. She smiled when necessary, though the smiles did not reach her eyes. Taiho stayed close to her, watching the crowd. An hour passed, then 2. Taiho began to relax a little. Maybe he had been worried for nothing. Then the lights went out. For a moment, there was only darkness and silence. Then people started screaming. Emergency lights came on, red and dim. Taiho grabbed Yuna's arm and pulled her close. "Stay with me," he said. "What is happening?" she asked. Her voice was calm, but he could feel her pulse racing through her skin. Explosions answered her question. They came from somewhere below, deep in the station. The floor shook. Alarms began to wail. "Krath!" someone shouted. "The Krath are attacking!" Chaos erupted. People ran in all directions. Valari guards tried to reach the princess, but the crowd was too thick. Taiho saw flashes of weapons fire near the entrance. The Krath had breached the station. "This way," he said to Yuna. "I know another route." They moved through a side door into a service corridor. It was narrow and dark. Taiho pulled out his pistol and led the way. Yuna followed close behind him, her hand gripping his shoulder. They turned a corner and found 2 bodies on the floor. Human guards, both dead. Taiho felt his stomach tighten. The Krath were already inside. "We need to reach the emergency shuttles," he said. "Can you run?" Yes. They ran. The corridor twisted and turned. Twice they heard footsteps and had to hide in doorways. Taiho's heart was pounding, but his hands were steady on his weapon. They were almost at the shuttle bay when the Krath found them. Two of them stepped out from a side passage. They were tall and covered in gray scales. Their eyes were yellow and slit like a snake's. They wore black armor and carried weapons that glowed with energy. Taiho pushed Yuna behind him. "Go," he said. "I'll hold them." "I will not leave you." "That's an order, Your Highness." The Krath raised their weapons. Taiho fired first. His pistol was meant for human enemies. Against Krath armor, it was almost useless. The shots hit the first Krath's chest and barely left marks. The alien laughed, a hissing sound. Taiho did not stop. He fired again and again, aiming for the gaps in the armor. One shot hit a Krath in the neck. It stumbled and fell. The second Krath snarled and charged at him. They crashed together. The Krath was stronger, but Taiho was faster. He ducked under a blow and drove his elbow into the alien's throat. The Krath choked and swung wildly. Its fist hit Taiho's ribs. He felt something crack. Pain exploded in his side, but he did not stop. He could not stop. Yuna was behind him. He grabbed the Krath's weapon arm and twisted. The alien's wrist broke with a snap. The weapon fell to the floor. Taiho picked it up and fired point-blank into the Krath's chest. The alien fell. Taiho stood there, breathing hard. His ribs screamed with pain. His hands were shaking, but he had won. Then he heard a sound behind him. He turned and saw a third Krath stepping out of the shadows. This one had a blade, long and curved and glowing hot. It moved toward Yuna. Taiho did not think. He threw himself between them. The blade went into his stomach. For a moment, he felt nothing. Then the pain came, white-hot and terrible. He looked down and saw blood spreading across his uniform. The Krath pulled the blade out, and Taiho fell to his knees. He heard Yuna scream his name. It was the first time she had used it. With the last of his strength, he raised the Krath weapon and fired. The shot hit the alien in the face. It fell backward and did not move. Then everything became blurry. Taiho was on the floor. He could not feel his legs. The pain in his stomach was fading, which he knew was a bad sign. He was dying. Yuna was there. She was kneeling beside him, holding his hand. Her face was not calm anymore. Tears were running down her cheeks, glowing faintly blue on her luminescent skin. "No," she said. "No, no, no. You cannot die. I forbid it." Taiho tried to smile. "Can't. Follow orders. This time, be quiet. Do not speak." She put her hands on his wound. They began to glow with golden light. Taiho felt warmth spread through his body, fighting against the cold that was taking over. "What are you?" he whispered. "Royal healing. It is forbidden to use on outsiders." Her voice broke. "I do not care. I do not care about the law. You will not die." "I will not allow it." The golden light grew brighter. Taiho felt the pain ease. He felt strength returning to his body. He looked at Yuna's face and saw the cost of what she was doing. She was giving him her own energy, her own life force. It was dangerous. She could hurt herself. "Yuna," he said, "stop. It's too much." "No. You're hurting yourself." "I said no!" She was crying harder now. Her whole body was shaking. "You stupid, brave, wonderful human! You jumped in front of a blade for me! How dare you! How dare you make me care about you!" The light faded. Yuna collapsed beside him, exhausted. But Taiho was still alive. His wound had closed. He was weak, but he would survive. He reached out and touched her face. Her skin was cool and soft. "Thank you," he whispered. She looked at him with those purple eyes, filled with tears and something deeper, something that terrified her. "Taiho," she breathed. Then the Valari guards finally arrived, and everything became chaos again. Taiho woke in a medical bay, white ceiling, beeping machines, the smell of antiseptic. He tried to sit up and groaned. His stomach was bandaged. Everything hurt. A human doctor came to check on him. She said he was lucky to be alive. She said the Valari healing had saved him, but that he would need weeks to fully recover. She said he was a hero for protecting the princess. Taiho did not care about being a hero. He wanted to see Yuna. "Where is the princess?" he asked. The doctor hesitated. "She has returned to her quarters. She requested a different liaison. You are being reassigned, Lieutenant." Taiho stared at her. "What? I'm sorry. Those are the orders." The doctor left. Taiho lay in the bed looking at the ceiling. He thought about Yuna's face when she healed him. He thought about her tears. He thought about the way she said his name. She had saved his life, and now she was sending him away. He did not understand, but somewhere deep in his heart, he knew why she was doing it. She was afraid. She had broken the law for him. She had shown emotion in front of others. She had let him see behind her mask. She was running away from what she felt. Taiho closed his eyes. His chest hurt, but not from his wound. He wondered if he would ever see her again. Taiho returned to regular duty. His body healed quickly, thanks to Yuna's magic. But the doctors still made him rest for 3 weeks before clearing him for active service. He spent those weeks in his apartment in Seoul, staring at the walls and thinking about things he should not think about. He tried to keep busy. He read reports. He exercised until his muscles burned. He called Somi every day and was glad to hear her getting stronger. He went back to work and threw himself into his duties, but nothing helped. He thought about Yuna constantly. He saw her face when he closed his eyes. He remembered her laugh, rare and surprised, when he made a joke she did not expect. He remembered the way she tilted her head when she was confused by human customs. He remembered her hand in his, cool and soft, when she healed him. He remembered her eyes filled with tears as she begged him not to die. One night, he stood on the balcony of his apartment and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, millions of kilometers away, she was looking at the same stars. He wondered if she thought about him too. He wondered if she missed him. He told himself to stop. She was a princess. He was nobody. There was no future for them. He should forget her and move on with his life. But forgetting Yuna was like forgetting how to breathe. On Valari Prime, Princess Yuna was fighting her own battle. She returned home after the attack on Horizon and immediately began her old routines. She attended council meetings. She reviewed trade agreements. She met with military commanders to discuss the alliance with Earth. She meditated for hours every day, trying to calm her mind. She practiced the mental disciplines she had learned since childhood, the techniques that were supposed to make emotions disappear. Nothing worked. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Taiho. She saw him standing in front of the Krath, putting his body between her and death. She saw him falling to the floor, his blood spreading across the metal. She saw him looking at her with those warm human eyes, trying to smile even as his life faded away. She had almost lost him. The thought made her feel sick. She did not understand what was happening to her. Valari were not supposed to feel this way. They were not supposed to lie awake at night thinking about someone. They were not supposed to feel empty when that person was gone. But Yuna felt all of these things, and she did not know how to make them stop. Her chief advisor, an old Valari named Lord Kang, noticed the change in her. "You are distracted, Your Highness," he said one day after a council meeting. "Your mind is elsewhere." "I am fine," Yuna said. "You are not fine." "You have not been fine since you returned from Earth." He looked at her carefully. "Is this about the human? The one you healed?" Yuna felt her heart jump. "I do not know what you mean. You used royal healing on an outsider. That is a serious crime. The council does not know yet, but they will find out eventually. You must prepare yourself." I am not afraid of the council. You should be, but that is not what concerns me. Lord Kang stepped closer. You are thinking about him, the human. You are thinking about him all the time. Yuna could not deny it. She said nothing. This is dangerous, Lord Kang said softly. He is human. You are promised to Prince Huan. If you develop feelings for this man, you will destroy yourself. I do not have feelings for him, Yuna said, but her voice sounded weak even to her own ears. Lord Kang sighed. I have served your family for 200 years. I have never lied to you, and I will not lie now. Whatever you feel for this human, you must let it go. You must forget him. Your duty is to your people. He left her alone. Yuna stood in the empty room, her hands shaking. Forget him. Let it go. She did not know if she could. Days turned into weeks. Yuna tried to bury herself in work, but the work felt meaningless. She attended dinners with Prince Huan, her betrothed, and felt nothing when she looked at him. He was handsome and powerful and perfectly suitable. She should have been satisfied. Instead, she compared him to Taiho. Huan never made her laugh. Huan never looked at her with warmth. Huan never asked her what she was thinking or how she was feeling. He talked about politics and power and the glory of their houses. He never talked about her. Taiho had always talked about her. One night she could not stop herself. She called her intelligence office and requested information about Lieutenant Kim Taeho, his current assignment, his location, his health. The reports came the next day. Taeho had fully recovered. He had been promoted to captain for his bravery during the attack. He was now assigned to a starship called the Dauntless, patrolling the border near Krath territory. He was well. He was alive. That was all that mattered. Yuna read the reports again and again. She saved them in a private file. She told herself she was just checking on someone who had saved her life. It was gratitude. Nothing more. But gratitude did not explain why her heart beat faster when she saw his picture. Gratitude did not explain why she fell asleep with his name on her lips. Lord Kang was right. She was developing feelings for a human. It was wrong. It was forbidden. It would destroy everything she had worked for. But Yuna could not stop. Prince Huan began to notice. He was not stupid. He saw how Yuna looked at him without really seeing. He saw how she turned away when he tried to touch her hand. He saw how her mind wandered during their conversations. You are thinking about someone else, he said one evening. They were having dinner in his palace. The food was expensive and the room was beautiful, but Yuna felt like she was in a prison. No, she said. I am just tired. Do not lie to me. His voice was cold. I know about the human, the one who protected you on the station. I know you healed him. Yuna felt ice in her stomach. How do you know that? I have my sources. The question is, why did you do it? Royal healing is sacred. It is only for Valari. You broke the law for this human. Why? He saved my life. I owed him a debt. A debt. Huan smiled, but it was not friendly. Is that all? Yes. Then you will have no problem forgetting him. You will have no problem being my wife and fulfilling your duty to our houses. Yuna looked at him. His eyes were hard and calculating. He did not love her. He probably never would. She was just a prize to him, a way to increase his power. No, she said quietly. I will have no problem. But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. Another month passed. The final treaty between Earth and the Valari Empire was scheduled to be signed on a neutral space station called Concordance. Both sides would send their best representatives to make the alliance official. Yuna learned that she would be attending, so would Prince Huan, and so would Captain Kim Taeho. When she saw his name on the list, her heart nearly stopped. She would see him again. After 3 months of separation, she would stand in the same room as him. She should have been worried. She should have been afraid. Instead, she felt something she had not felt in months. Hope. It was small and foolish and dangerous, but it was there, burning in her chest like a tiny flame. She was going to see Taiho again, and this time, she did not know if she could walk away. Station Concordance floated in neutral space between Earth and Volari territory. It was shaped like a great wheel, spinning slowly against the stars. Ships from a dozen worlds were docked at its ports. Inside, thousands of diplomats and officials walked through wide corridors and grand halls. Captain Kim Taiho arrived 3 days before the treaty signing. He was part of the security team, responsible for protecting the human delegation. It was an important job. He should have been focused on his duties. Instead, he could only think about one thing. He was going to see Yuna again. For 3 months, he had tried to forget her. He had thrown himself into his work, taken extra shifts, volunteered for dangerous missions. He had told himself that she was a princess and he was nobody. He had told himself that she had sent him away because she did not want him. But he had not forgotten her, not even close. And now, in a few hours, she would be here. Taiho stood in the docking bay and watched the Volari ship approach. It was the same silver blade he had seen on Earth, beautiful and cold. His heart was beating fast. His hands were sweating inside his gloves. The ship landed. The ramp extended. And there she was. Princess Yuna walked down the ramp like she was walking on clouds. She wore silver today, a dress that made her look like a statue of moonlight. Her hair was pinned up, showing her long neck. Her face was calm and perfect, without expression. She looked the same as before, but Taiho knew her now. He could see the tiny signs that others missed, the way her eyes moved quickly across the crowd, the slight tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers pressed together at her sides. She was nervous. Then a man walked down the ramp behind her. He was tall, even for a Volari. His skin glowed brighter than Yuna's, and his eyes were cold violet stones. He wore the formal clothes of a high noble house. He moved with the confidence of someone who expected everyone to bow to him. This had to be Prince Huan, Yuna's betrothed. Taiho felt something twist in his chest. He told himself it did not matter. He had no claim on her. She was going to marry this man and rule an empire. That was always the plan. But telling himself did not make it hurt less. The Volari delegation moved through the docking bay. Yuna walked with Huan at her side. Human officials rushed forward to greet them. Hands were shaken. Formal words were exchanged. Yuna's eyes found Taiho in the crowd. For one moment, everything stopped. The noise faded. The people disappeared. There was only her face, her eyes, the small catch of breath he could see in her chest. Then the moment passed. Yuna looked away. She continued walking with Prince Huan. She did not look back. Taiho stood there watching her go and felt his heart break a little more. The next 3 days were torture. Taiho's duties brought him close to the princess many times. He was assigned to security meetings where she was present. He stood guard at dinners where she sat at the head table. He walked the same corridors and attended the same briefings. Each time, they were perfectly professional. Yuna greeted him with cool politeness. "Captain Kim?" Taiho responded with military formality. "Your Highness." They discussed schedules and protocols and threat assessments. They never talked about what had happened on Horizon. They never talked about the healing or the tears or the way she had said his name. They acted like strangers who had never met. But the connection was still there. Taiho felt it every time he was near her. It was like a rope tied between them, pulling tighter with every passing hour. He saw it in the way she glanced at him when she thought he was not looking. He heard it in the slight shake of her voice when she said his name. She felt it too. He was sure of it. Prince Huan noticed as well. He watched them at dinner with cold, calculating eyes. He saw the way Yuna turned toward Taiho without meaning to. He saw the way the human captain looked at his betrothed. Huan did not like it. On the second night, Taiho and Yuna were assigned to work together on security arrangements for the treaty signing. They met in a small conference room, just the two of them. They sat at opposite sides of a table and looked at screens showing guard positions and evacuation routes. For the first hour, they kept things professional. They discussed entry points and weapon scans and emergency protocols. Their voices were calm and businesslike. But the air in the room was thick with things unsaid. Finally, Taiho could not take it anymore. "Why did you send me away?" he asked. Yuna's hands stopped moving over the screen. She did not look up. "It was necessary." "Necessary for what?" "For both of us. I broke the law by healing you. If people knew how much energy I gave you, there would be questions, investigations. It was better for you to be far away." "That's not the real reason," Taiho said. Now she looked up. Her eyes were the color of twilight, deep and endless. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth. The truth will not help either of us." "Maybe not. But I deserve to hear it." Yuna stared at him. For a moment, her mask slipped. He saw pain underneath, and longing, and fear. "I sent you away because I was afraid," she said quietly. "I was afraid of what I felt. I was afraid of what I might do. Every moment with you, I became more attached. That is not allowed. That is not safe. I had to stop it before it became impossible to stop." Taiho's heart was pounding. "Did it work?" "What?" "Stopping it. Did it work?" She did not answer, but her silence was answer enough. Taiho stood up. He walked around the table until he was standing in front of her. She looked up at him, her face uncertain. "I tried to stop it too," he said. "I tried to forget you. I told myself you were a princess and I was nothing. I told myself there was no future for us." He paused. "I couldn't do it. I can't stop thinking about you, Yuna. When you walked off that ship today, when I saw you again, I knew I would never stop." "Taiho," her voice was barely a whisper, "I'm not asking you for anything. I know your situation. I know your promise to him. But I had to tell you the truth. You deserve to hear it." Tears were forming in her eyes. She blinked them back, but one escaped and ran down her glowing cheek. "I have a duty," she said. "My people are counting on me. The alliance depends on my marriage to Juan. I cannot throw that away for a human. For anything. Even if I wanted to." She stood up and faced him. They were close now, close enough that he could feel the coolness of her skin. "This cannot happen. You must understand that." "I understand," Taiho said, "but understanding doesn't change how I feel." They stood there, looking at each other. The pull between them was so strong it almost hurt. Taiho wanted to touch her face. He wanted to hold her and tell her everything would be okay. But he did not move, and neither did she. Finally, Yuna stepped back. "We should finish the security review." "Yes, Your Highness." She turned away from him. But before she did, Taiho saw her hand shake as she wiped the tear from her face. Late that night, Taiho stood on an observation deck, looking at the stars. He could not sleep. His mind was racing with everything that had happened. He heard footsteps behind him. He did not need to turn around to know who it was. Yuna stepped up beside him. She did not speak. They just stood there together looking at the universe. "I'm glad you're safe," Taiho said finally. "I think about that night on Horizon. I'd do it again." "You should not," Yuna replied. "I am not worth your life. That's not your decision to make." She turned to look at him. In the starlight, her face was soft and sad and beautiful. "Why do you care so much? I have been cold to you. I pushed you away. Why do you still love you?" The word hung in the air between them. Yuna's breath caught in her throat. "Because you're worth loving," Taiho said simply. "Even if you don't believe it." Yuna stared at him. Her lips parted slightly. For a moment he thought she might say something. Then a voice came from behind them. "How touching." They turned around. Prince Huan was standing in the doorway, watching them with cold fury in his eyes. Prince Huan walked toward them slowly, each step echoed in the quiet observation deck. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with anger. "I suspected," he said. "When I heard about the healing, I knew something was wrong. A princess does not break sacred law for a stranger. She breaks it for someone she cares about." "Huan," Yuna began, "this is not what it looks like. Do not insult me." His voice was sharp like a blade. "I have watched you for 3 days. I have seen how you look at him, how you speak his name, how you find reasons to be near him. Do you think I am blind?" Taiho stepped forward. "Your Highness, the princess has done nothing wrong. We were just—" "Be silent, human." Huan did not even look at him. "This does not concern you." "Actually, it does." Now Huan turned his cold eyes on Taiho. There was hatred there, and disgust. "You think you matter. You are an insect, a creature that lives and dies in the blink of an eye. You have no right to speak to a Valari noble, much less to touch one. I haven't touched anyone, but you want to. That is clear enough." Huan moved closer, towering over Taiho. "Know this, human. Yuna belongs to me. Our marriage was arranged before you were born, before your grandfather was born. It is destiny written in the stars. Whatever fantasy you have in your small human brain, it will never happen." Taiho held his ground. "With respect, she doesn't belong to anyone." Huan's hand shot out and grabbed Taiho's collar. The prince was strong, stronger than any human. He lifted Taiho off the floor with one arm. "Huan, stop!" Yuna shouted. "I could kill you right now," Huan said quietly. "I could break your neck with one twist. No one would punish me. You are nothing." "You are less than nothing." Taiho looked into those violent eyes and felt no fear. "Then do it." Huan stared at him. Something flickered in his expression. Confusion, maybe. He was not used to humans who did not beg. "Huan, put him down." Yuna's voice was cold now, commanding. "If you hurt him, I will make sure you regret it for the rest of your very long life." Huan looked at her, then back at Taiho. After a long moment, he opened his hand. Taiho dropped to the floor and stumbled but stayed on his feet. "This is not over," Huan said. Then he turned to Yuna. "Come with me. We need to talk. Alone." Yuna hesitated. She looked at Taiho. "Go," he said quietly. "I'm fine." She nodded once. Then she followed Huan out of the observation deck, and Taiho was alone with the stars. Huan took Yuna to his quarters. The door closed behind them, and he turned on her immediately. "This is unacceptable," he said. "You have embarrassed yourself. You have embarrassed me. You have broken laws and forgotten your duty. All for what? A human? A creature that will be dead before we reach middle age?" "I have not broken any duty to you," Yuna said. "Nothing has happened between us. Do you think that matters? The feeling is enough. The desire is enough. The entire station can see how you look at him. How do you think this makes me appear? My future wife, longing for a human like some lovesick child." Yuna felt anger rising in her chest. "I am not your wife yet." "You will be. Soon. And when you are, you will forget this human. You will never see him again. You will never speak his name. If you do, I will make sure he disappears. You would not dare. Test me." Huan's eyes were merciless. "I do not make empty threats. The human dies if you do not let this go. Do you understand?" Yuna felt cold fear grip her heart. Huan was powerful. His family had connections everywhere. If he wanted Taiho dead, he could make it happen, and no one would ever know. "Think about your choice carefully," Huan continued. "Tomorrow is the treaty signing. You will stand beside me and smile for the cameras. You will announce our wedding date. And you will never think about that human again." He paused. "Or he dies. The choice is yours." He left without waiting for an answer. The door closed, and Yuna was alone. She stood in the middle of the room, shaking. Her hands were trembling. Her breath came in short gasps. Everything was falling apart. Everything she had tried to control was slipping through her fingers. She had to let Taiho go. She had to save his life. But the thought of never seeing him again, of standing beside Juan for the rest of her life, of pretending she felt nothing, she could not do it. She could not pretend anymore. Taiho was in his quarters when the door chimed. He opened it and found Yuna standing in the corridor. She looked different. Her hair was down, falling around her shoulders. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying. She was trembling. "Your Highness," he said. "What happened? Are you okay? May I come in?" He stepped aside. She entered his quarters and stood in the middle of the small room. She wrapped her arms around herself like she was cold. "Yuna," Taiho said softly. "What's wrong?" "I have tried," she said. Her voice was shaking. "I have tried so hard. I have meditated. I have disciplined my thoughts. I have reminded myself of duty and law and tradition. I have told myself 1,000 reasons why this is wrong, why this is impossible, why this is forbidden." She looked up at him. Tears were streaming down her face, glowing faintly blue on her skin. "None of it matters." Taiho's heart stopped. "I can't pretend anymore, human." Her voice broke on the words. "I have spent my entire life hiding what I feel, controlling every emotion, building walls around my heart. But you walked through those walls like they were nothing. You made me laugh. You made me think. You made me feel things I did not know I could feel." She stepped closer to him. "When I saw you on that floor bleeding, dying, I understood that I would burn my entire empire to keep you alive. I knew then what I refused to know before." She was standing right in front of him now, close enough to touch, close enough to kiss. "I love you, Taiho," she whispered. "I love you, and I am terrified, and I do not know what to do." Taiho's hands were shaking as he reached out and cupped her face. Her skin was cool and smooth. She leaned into his touch, closing her eyes. "Juan threatened to kill you," she said. "If I do not let you go, he will have you killed. I don't care. You should care. You should run away from me. Save yourself." "I'm not going anywhere." She opened her eyes. "Why? Why are you not afraid?" Taiho smiled gently. "Because some things are worth the risk. You taught me that." She laughed, a broken, beautiful sound. "I taught you nothing. I was the one who needed to learn." "Then we taught each other." He pulled her into his arms. She came willingly, pressing her face against his chest. He held her tight, feeling her heartbeats, both of them, against his own single heart. "What do we do now?" she asked. "I don't know," he admitted. "But we'll figure it out. Together." She looked up at him. Her eyes were filled with tears and love and fear. "He will destroy me. He will strip my title. He will disgrace my family." "Do you care?" She thought about it, and for the first time in her life, she knew the answer. "No," she said. "I don't." He kissed her then, soft and gentle at first, then deeper. She melted into him, and for a moment, nothing else existed. No duty, no law, no prince waiting to destroy them. Just two hearts, 3 if you counted, beating together. When they finally pulled apart, Yuna was smiling, really smiling. Taiho had never seen anything so beautiful. "Tomorrow is the treaty signing," she said. "I know what I have to do." "Are you sure?" "Yes." She took his hand and held it tight. "I have never been more sure of anything in my life." The great hall of Station Concordance was filled with people. Diplomats from Earth stood on one side in their formal uniforms. Valari nobles stood on the other in their flowing robes. Cameras floated through the air, broadcasting the event to billions of viewers across two species. This was the moment everyone had waited for, the alliance that would protect humanity from the Krath. The agreement that would change the galaxy forever. Captain Kim Tae-ho stood at the back of the hall with the other security officers. His heart was pounding. He had not slept all night. He kept looking at the podium where the treaty would be signed, wondering what was about to happen. Yuna had not told him her exact plan. She had only said to trust her, so he trusted her. He had no other choice. The ceremony began. Speeches were given by human presidents and Valari council members. Everyone talked about peace and cooperation and the bright future ahead. The words blurred together in Tae-ho's mind. He was not listening. He was watching the door where Yuna would appear. Finally, she came. Princess Yuna walked into the hall alone. No guards, no attendants, no Prince Huan at her side. She wore a simple white dress without any royal jewelry. Her hair was down, the way she had worn it last night in his quarters. The crowd went quiet. Something was wrong. Everyone could feel it. Huan was seated in the front row. His face turned pale, then red with anger. He started to stand, but Yuna had already reached the podium. She faced the crowd, the cameras focused on her face. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched and waited. "I came here today to represent the Valari Empire," she began. Her voice was calm and clear. "I came here to sign a treaty and strengthen an alliance. But before I do that, I must speak honestly. I must tell you who I really am." Whispers spread through the hall. Tae-ho felt his chest tighten. "All my life I was taught that emotion is weakness," Yuna continued. "I was taught to control my feelings, to hide them, to pretend they did not exist. I was told that love and attachment were dangerous. I believed it. I spent years building walls around my heart, making myself cold and hard and alone." She paused. Her eyes found Tae-ho in the crowd. A small smile touched her lips. "Then I met a human." The whispers grew louder. Huan's face was dark with fury. "He was assigned to be my guide on Earth. At first, I thought nothing of him. He was just another short-lived creature to be tolerated. But he surprised me. He was patient when I was cruel. He was kind when I was cold. He made me laugh. He asked me questions no one had ever asked. He saw the person behind the mask." Her voice trembled slightly, but she kept going. "When I was in danger, he put himself between me and death. He was wounded, dying, and still he protected me. In that moment, I understood what I had been taught was wrong. Emotion is not weakness. Love is not a vulnerability to be exploited. They are the things that make life worth living." She turned to address the Valari side of the room directly. "I know what you are thinking. You are thinking I have been corrupted by humans, that I have lost my discipline and my mind. But I have not lost anything. I have found something your teachings tried to take from me." She straightened her shoulders. "That is why I am invoking the ancient right of severance. I am renouncing my title, my claim to the throne, and my betrothal to Prince Huan of House Sarath." The hall exploded. People shouted and gasped. Diplomats looked at each other in shock. Valari nobles spoke rapidly in their own language. Huan jumped to his feet, his face twisted with rage. "You cannot do this," he shouted. "I forbid it." "You have no authority over me anymore," Yuna said calmly. "The severance is complete. I am no longer a princess. I am no longer your betrothed. I am simply Yuna. This is madness. The council will never allow it." An old Valari stood up from the council section. Tae-ho recognized him as one of the highest judges in the empire. The hall went quiet as he spoke. "The right of severance is ancient and absolute," the judge said slowly. It has not been invoked in 300 years, but it cannot be denied. By our own law, Yuna is free of all titles and obligations. She is no longer a member of House Kira. Juan stared at the judge in disbelief. Then he turned back to Yuna, his eyes filled with hatred. "You have destroyed yourself," he spat. "You have thrown away everything for a human. You are a disgrace. You will die alone and forgotten." Yuna smiled. "I would rather live one human lifetime with love than 1,000 years without it." She stepped down from the podium and walked through the silent crowd. People moved out of her way, staring at her like she was a ghost. She did not look at any of them. She looked only at Taiho. She stopped in front of him. Everyone was watching. The cameras were recording, but she did not care. "You didn't have to do that," Taiho said quietly. "Yes," she replied. "I did." He took her hand. "What happens now?" "I don't know. I have no title, no home, no family." She squeezed his fingers. "But I have you. If you'll have me." Taiho pulled her into his arms. He held her tight in front of the entire galaxy. "Always," he whispered. "Always." The treaty was signed that day. The alliance held, despite everything. Many people thought it would fall apart without Yuna as a symbol, but they were wrong. In the months that followed, something unexpected happened. Yuna's story spread across both species. People watched her speech again and again. They talked about what she had said. They argued about whether she was brave or foolish. But slowly, opinions began to change. Humans had always been seen as weak because of their emotions. Now some Valari began to wonder if that was true. They saw a former princess give up everything for love. They saw her stand before the galaxy and speak from her heart. They saw her choose connection over power, and they began to think that maybe, just maybe, humans had something to teach them after all. The alliance became something more than politics. It became a real partnership. Humans and Valari started to learn from each other. Valari began to allow more emotional expression in their culture. Humans learned Valari discipline and focus. Both species grew stronger together. Taiho and Yuna lived on Earth. He continued his military service. She became an advisor on human-Valari relations. They had a small apartment in Seoul with a view of the mountains. They planted flowers on the balcony. Sometimes Yuna missed her old life. She missed the power and the certainty. She missed knowing exactly who she was supposed to be. But then Taiho would come home. He would smile at her and ask about her day. He would hold her hand and tell her he loved her. And she would remember why she had given it all up. One evening, they sat on the balcony and watched the sunset. The sky was painted orange and pink and gold. Yuna leaned her head on Taiho's shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. "Regret what?" "Everything. Leaving your people, giving up your throne, choosing a human who will die before you reach middle age." Yuna thought about the question. She thought about her cold palace on Valari Prime. She thought about the empty dinners with Prince Juan. She thought about a lifetime of hiding what she felt. Then she thought about Taiho, his laugh, his warmth, the way he looked at her like she was the most important thing in the universe. "No," she said. "Not for one moment." He kissed the top of her head. She closed her eyes and smiled. In the years that followed, their story became legend. The princess who gave up her throne for love. The human who showed an empire the strength of emotion. People told their tale to children at bedtime. They made movies and songs about them. But Taiho and Yuna did not care about legends. They cared about each other. And that was enough. The end.